Yeah, I just want to throw out a little response to a gentleman's video. A gentleman who likes to yell and scream and sweat and get all crazy in the flesh and really it's very it's really comedic, and it's very manipulative, and it's very fleshly, and the sad thing is, it's somebody who when I first found the name of Yahuwah, I did come across him. After after the name Yahuwah was revealed to me by Yahuwah and his son Yahushua, and who basically condemned me, and I guess he felt the need to put me in check, that I was trying to infiltrate his congregation, and because I had a certain friend on my channel, and I don't follow any man, and I do firmly believe that he loves to be followed. He loves to claim himself a teacher, but he's not. And I'll show you right now on one of his teachings. I'm going to title this so it'll be appropriate to the teaching I'm responding to, but it's on Torah, on the instructions, and the false Torah teachers, which is ridiculous if you read the New Testament, which I didn't like that term, New Testament, the continued covenant, the fulfilled covenant. So anyways, it's Acts 15. Okay. Let me read scripture. I'll spend most of my time just talking about scripture. I'll say a few things. I'll read scripture. I'm not going to go off and do 6 videos in a series and read one line of, or just a little bit of scripture and just go off in the flesh. I'm just going to be, I'm going to show some self-control and read in context, right? We read scripture in context. It's a letter. The letter has context. So sometimes, if you're not proof texting and you really are seeking truth, you read a whole set of sentences and paragraphs till you can fully understand what's being said. You don't read it to a certain point, add all kinds of stuff into it that you want it to say, and then stop. So let's read some context into a particular passage that this gentleman went all crazy about and totally missed the boat of what the truth is. Acts 15, starting at verse let's see, we'll start in verse 5, 15:5. And some of the believers who belonged to the sect of the Pharisees rose up, saying, "It is necessary to circumcise them and to command them to keep the Torah of Moshe." Why would they say this? Because they were from the sect of the Pharisees. They were new believers. They had been keeping Torah. They still had the mindset that that was part of salvation. And we'll see this as we read in context. And the emissaries and elders came together to look into this matter. And when there had been much dispute, Kepha rose up and said to them, "Men, brothers, you know that a good while ago Elohim chose among us that by my mouth the nations should hear the word of the good news and believe." He's talking about the Gentiles. He's talking about the non-Yehuda, that Yahuwah had shown him through his dream that they were no longer unclean. This is the topic here, the Gentiles, other nations. And Elohim, who knows the heart, bore witness to them by giving them the set-apart spirit as also to us, and made no distinction between us and them, cleansing their hearts by belief. He made no distinction between Yehuda, or Israel, Yasharel, and the Gentile. Those who were following Torah, as well, a lot of them were following traditions of men, and that's what the Pharisees are still stuck in at this particular point in time, but not the apostles, and this is what is being clarified here. Now then, why do you try Elohim by putting a yoke on the neck of the taught ones, which neither our fathers nor we were able to bear? The Torah, the instructions, the law, the teaching, never saved, and it never will. It is not a part of salvation. Okay, we're not talking about Judaism here. Okay, we're talking about following of the way. What is the way? Judaism has a bunch of fence laws. We all know this. The oral traditions all have a bunch of fence laws. Yahushua was always against them. So we're talking right now, we're talking strictly about actual Torah. But through the favor of the Master Yahushua Messiah, we trust to be saved in the same way as they. Not by the yoke of the law. The yoke would be trying to live it perfectly in order to gain salvation. That's the yoke, right? Yahushua said, all ye who are weary and heavy laden, come unto me, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Right? Doesn't Paul also say that the Torah is not a burden for those who love Yahuwah? That's right. And all the crowd was silent and were listening to Barnabas and Shaul, declaring how many miracles and wonders Elohim did among the nations through them. And after they were silent, Jacob answered, saying, Men, brothers, listen to me. Shimon, or Kepha, Simon, has declared how Elohim first visited the nations to take out of them a people for his name. And the words of the prophets agree with this, as it has been written. After this I shall return and rebuild the booth of David, which has fallen down, and I shall rebuild its ruins, and I shall set it up, so that the remnant of mankind shall seek Yahuwah, even all the nations on whom my name has been called, says Yahuwah, who is doing all this, who has made this known from of old. Therefore I judge that we should not trouble those from among the nations who are turning to Elohim, but that we write to them to abstain from the defilements of idols, and from whoring, and from what is strangled, and from blood. Verse 21 is one that this guy always seems to leave out. It's like it's not there, but it is there, and it means something. Right after this, he gives those four things. He says this, verse 15:21. For from ancient generations Moshe has in every city those proclaiming him, being read in the congregations every Sabbath. What does this mean? Why do you always leave this out? This is scripture. We need context. You have the one side, those who were all involved in the oral law, who are being stripped of those and learning to follow straight Torah and learning that it's not for salvation. Salvation comes from Yahushua, as clarified earlier. The Gentiles they were all part of the pagan religions. They were having sex with the temple prostitutes. They were doing all kinds of blood rituals, all kinds of things like that. So they said, okay, let's just deal with the basics first here, guys. Just don't do that. We're going to tell them to just abstain from those things for right now. Because in the synagogues, every Sabbath, Moshe is taught. And they can learn. Their salvation is not based upon having to follow Torah. But if they love Yahuwah, they're going to. And they do. And so they're going to learn it in the synagogue. That is what Acts 15 in that section is about. Think about that. That's what it means. Try dividing the word of truth with some real integrity and some real insight, instead of getting all fleshly and leading people astray.